You are listening to The Shadow of Islam, a new perspective. Join us as we discover the Islamic dilemma, the deceptions and false teachings of Islam, so that you can be more equipped to present the gospel of Jesus Christ to this faith group. Good morning and welcome to another episode of A Shadow of Islam. I'm going to take a little deeper look into an Islamic tactic called diversion. This is a tactic Islamic apologists use, which is an activity which is intended to attract people's attention away from something which they do not want their followers to see, or think about, or know about, or understand. Because if they do, it reveals the truth about the Islamic goal or intention. So let's have a look at some of these diversion tactics used by Islamic apologists.
But the Quran is very categorical on that question, that the Bible is corrupt. The current Bible in the hands of the Christians and the Jewish people is not pure.
So what Adnan is saying here is that the Jewish scriptures and the Christian scriptures today are not pure. And he's using the Quran as a standard, because remember, Islam claims that the Quran is perfectly received from Allah. It has no errors, no corrections, and is a photocopy in heaven. And it's exactly the same it is today as it was 1400 years ago. So let's go and have a look at the evidence which Adnan is trying to hide here. The first picture which you've seen on the screen there is a copy of the Sonar manuscript. This is the manuscript which is found in the Great Mosque in Yemen, and is considered the oldest manuscript which we have today. Firstly, have a look. You've got different scribes on different pages. I want you to first have a look at the different scribes, because there are different types of writing there. The one is the earlier text, which is straight up, and the other one is the slanted text, which comes later. So there's a good 150 years between the different writings of two different pages in the same manuscript. Then you have errors and typings. But let's look at the next slide, because what we have here is selective coverings. You have their little marks where they've gone and kind of used Tipex. If you have a look at the middle slide, you can't even read the words. Then what do? This is in the manuscript evidence. They take the selected coverings and they overwrite and they insert the words which they wanting to do. And why are they doing this? Because the manuscript doesn't meet the standard of the edited version of the 1924 Hafs Quran. Then you have overwritings with erasers. Have a look at this bottom one. It's a whole verse which has been overwritten. You can see the difference in the style of writing. Then you have just blatant insertions. Look, you got smaller scripts, smaller writings, and different color pens even used. Then you have just plain erasures where they've just taken out the word. And what is difficult about this is, with the insertion you can still make an assumption or a guess and say, well, it's not so bad, or there was a mistake or whatever. But with an eraser, where they've taken a word out, we never will know what word was there. It's just lost forever. Then they've erased something and overwritten it to change the meaning and change the word. And then they've got tapings. Look at those tapings. And in the middle one, this is on the one side, the top square is on the one side, and if you turn the page over, there is no difference there. And what Dr. Brubaker thought in the beginning was there might have been damage, and that was correcting the damage of the manuscript, but it doesn't show on the other side of the page. And these are the pure Qurans which we're looking at. And folks, there is never ever, after all the textual criticism done on the Christian Bible's manuscripts, there is never one dot of evidence that shows any manuscript has been changed to meet our Bible. Yet here we have this as the Quranic standard. We change the manuscripts to meet the modern version of the Quran in the name of Allah, which has been protected. And if we have a look at the Jewish texts, we have the wonderful miracle of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that shows a time frame of 1,000 years between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the latest manuscript evidence which we have, which shows perfect transmission. Not an error for 1,000 years. And how does Islam show their perfect transmission? They go back to the manuscripts and correct it. And then they still get it wrong. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of The Shadow of Islam, a true perspective. If you would like to support us, please go to www.patreon.com/diggingdeeper SA.